Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Coding Bytes. I'm Sweta, an educator at Coding Lab, and today we're going to be focusing on the if, then, and forever blocks on Scratch. Our game today will be an amazing one, where we'll be trying to solve as many mazes as possible.
Here's a preview of what we'll have at the end of this video. So let's check out the game now. So I'm using my arrow keys to move the ball down to the green block so that I can move on to the next level, which will be a bit harder than this one. You can hear music in the background, as well as the timer counting down. Oh no, so if I hit the wall, the ball goes back to the starting position. I'm going to stop the game right here so that we can move on to our projects now.
So now that we've seen the game, let's log into our Scratch account to open our project. So I've already logged into my Scratch account. Once you've logged in, we're going to remix the project. So let's click on the remix button right here and let's get started. So let's see what the game looks like at the moment. So currently the ball is able to move past all the walls, which is something we don't want. What we do want is if the ball touches the wall, we want it to go back to the starting position. So let's head to the ball sprite. And let's head to the series when I receive start game. So under this series, I'm going to add the if then block. So I'm going to go to control. I'm going to take out the if then block and drop it in here. Next, I'm going to go to sensing. I'm going to take out the touching color block and drop it into the if then block. So I want to get the exact shade of the wall. So I'm going to touch this color here. I'm going to get the paint drop tool. So now we can see this big circle with a small square in the middle. So I'm going to make sure that the small square in the middle is touching the wall. And then once the square is on the wall, I'm going to click on it. So now we got the exact shade of black that we're going to use. And so we want the ball to go back to the starting point if it touches the wall, right? So I'm going to duplicate this block here, which indicates the starting position. That's because this is the go-to block that's right underneath the when I receive start game block. So I'm going to throw away this block underneath. I'm going to drop this in here. We would also need the forever block. So I'm going to go to control. I'm going to take out the forever block and drop it here. That's because the forever block would ensure that the computer will keep checking over and over again to see if the ball is touching the wall. So let's see what the game looks like at the moment. All right. So now when I touch the wall, the ball goes back to the starting position. Now we'll move on to step 2 of this project, which is to proceed to the next level if the player wins the round. So this happens when the player touches the green block. We also want the player to go back to the starting position when a new level begins. So what I'm going to do is duplicate the block that we made earlier for step 1. I'm going to place the new block underneath the other block. This time, we're going to choose green for the touching color block. So I'm going to click on the color. I'm going to press the paint drop tool. And I want to make sure the green square is on the green block. Next, I'm going to increase the levels completed by 1. So I'm going to head to variables. I'm going to take out the change levels completed by 1 block. Make sure it says levels completed and not any other variable. Next, we're going to add a broadcast block. So I'm going to go to events. I'm going to take out the broadcast block. And I'm going to place it here. And I want to create a new message that says next level. So let's head to the maze sprite. Under the costume section in the maze sprite, we can see that the different levels are presented as different costumes. So we want to switch to the next costume when the levels of the game gets harder. So back to the code of the maze sprite. I'm going to add a when I receive block. So this block is under events as well. And I'm going to change this to next level. Now I'm going to go to looks and I'm going to take out the next costume block. We also need to ensure that the timer is reset. So we can see that the timer has already been defined in this project. So at the start, the timer is set to 40 seconds. And then the code tells Scratch to wait 1 second before reducing the timer by 1 count. So I'm going to head to my blocks. I'm going to take out the timer block and add it underneath the next costume block. Let's press the green flag to see how it works. All right, I'm able to move on to the next level. Finally, we're moving on to step 3 of this project, which is to end the game when the timer runs up. So this means that when the timer reaches 0, we want the game to end. So I'm going to head back to the ball sprite, and I'll be adding another if-then block. So I'm going to control. I'm going to take out the if-then block, and I'll be placing it underneath the other 2 if-then blocks that we made. Next, I'm going to operators, and I'll be taking out the less than block. And I'll be dropping that block into the if-then block. Next, I'm going to variables, and we're taking out the timer block, and I'll be placing it on the left-hand side. And I want to change the right-hand side value to 1. So this here represents the timer showing less than 1 second, which is 0. Next, I'm going to events, and we're taking out the broadcast block. Make sure it says game over. So let's go over to the game over sprite to see what happens. The broadcast message tells the game over sprite to appear when the timer runs up. So we've come to the end of our project. Feel free to try it out yourself. Thank you for watching, and I hope you had learned something with me today. Give us a like if you had enjoyed this video and subscribe for more coding bites. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.